In this video, we'll be taking a look at 4 NBA games happening on February 22, 2026, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 8 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 4 NBA games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start: if you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Cleveland Cavaliers versus Oklahoma City Thunder. Cleveland walking into Oklahoma City has that slightly upside-down feel where the champs are at home and still being treated like the riskier side. The visitors are humming on offense, streaking along behind their star backcourt and all that shot creation that has turned their attack into one of the scarier units in the league, and on paper that tends to impress people fast. The thing is, defense and habits still decide a lot of these games, and the home team has built its identity on exactly that, with a group that protects the rim, crowds passing lanes, and makes every catch feel just a little bit uncomfortable. Even with several big names sitting, the structure has not really changed. The front court presence is still there, the long guards and wings are still flying around, and we just watched that same framework squeeze an opponent down into the low-scoring range in their last outing. Cleveland brings that shine of a hot run, but it comes with some baggage, a packed schedule, travel, time zones, and the mental tax of trying to keep a streak alive in a loud arena where every mistake gets magnified. Their defense has been fine but not terrifying, and they are still missing a key spacer on the wing, which sounds small, yet in a game like this it can clog one side of the floor and make life harder for their drivers. Home court can be overrated sometimes, but when a defending champion with the league's top defensive profile is getting disrespected a bit in a fatigue spot for the opponent, it starts to look like the classic uncomfortable underdog that hangs around, keeps punching, and forces the favorite to hit tough shots just to separate. Honestly, there is always a world where those tough jumpers fall all night, but if you trust the underlying matchup, the travel spot, and the way this home team drags people into a trench fight, the value tilts toward them staying inside the number or even flipping the script late. As our first pick for this matchup, the Oklahoma City Thunder to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Scoring-wise, this matchup has a funny split personality. The reputations suggest fireworks. Both teams are known for putting points on the board when their stars are healthy, and that image sticks in people's minds even when the actual lineup on the floor looks pretty different. Here is the thing: the home side without its main creators does not play like that highlight reel version. It leans more into deliberate half-court sets, post touches, extra passes, and role players making the next read instead of a star walking the ball up and launching step-backs every other trip. We just saw that version in their recent win, where they held the opponent under 100 and were happy to trade long, grinding possessions for flashy scoring bursts. On the other side, the visitors still have plenty of offensive talent, but this is their third game in a short window with travel folded in, and tired legs usually show up in jump shooting and transition speed before anywhere else. That is exactly where the home defense tends to feast, with length at the point of attack, help that comes from everywhere, and a shot blocker behind it all who can erase drives that would be easy layups against most teams. It creates a kind of playoff-style rhythm: fewer easy runouts, more late clock actions, more trips where both sides are feeling each other out instead of racing end-to-end. Both defenses have real teeth. The visitors bring a big front line that can close the paint, and the hosts already own the reputation as the stingiest group in the league, so it is very easy to imagine a box score that ends up closer to a grind than a track meet. Picture the kind of game that finishes in the low 100s on both sides, something like a 108 to 106 or around that band, not as a precise forecast, but as a reasonable picture of how a contest like this often plays out when fatigue, missing creators, and elite defense all share the floor. When you stack all of that together, the current expectation on the scoreboard feels a little high compared to the most likely script, which points more toward a slower, tougher, lower-scoring battle than the reputation suggests. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Toronto walking into Milwaukee as the favorite already tells a story before the ball even goes up for the opening tip. A couple of seasons ago, that idea would have sounded like a bad video game bug. Yet here we are, with a Toronto group that feels steady and grown-up facing a Milwaukee squad that is still trying to figure out what it wants to be. Toronto sits with a stronger seasoned body of work, a positive scoring margin, and that quiet confidence of a team that knows it can travel and still bring its identity with it. Milwaukee sits on the other side with a losing record, and even when they look good, it often feels more like a hot streak than a stable plan. Giannis being out changes everything for the home side. Without that downhill freight train, Milwaukee leans harder into guard creation and perimeter jumpers, and you can almost feel it in the way their possessions start higher and farther from the rim. They have shooters who can get hot and guards who are not afraid of tough attempts, which is fun to watch but also pretty volatile when you stack it over 4 quarters. It is like living off step-back threes in a pickup run, amazing when it works, exhausting when it does not. Toronto comes in on the opposite end of the stylistic spectrum, slower, more deliberate, and comfortable playing in the half court. They lean on length, positional size, and a defense that sits near the top of the league, and they are fine winning games that look a little ugly to the casual box score scroll. They are not always pretty from deep, but they make up for it with strong rotations, contests on shooters, and enough creation by committee to keep the scoreboard moving steadily instead of in wild bursts. Brandon Ingram as a main scoring hub gives them a calm late clock option. Emmanuel quickly organizes and pokes at gaps, and the wings slide in and out of roles without much drama. That kind of flexibility matters when you are facing a team that wants to isolate and cook in space, because you can keep throwing fresh looks at those guards without sacrificing structure. The absence of Scotty Barnes is not a footnote, and it is worth stressing that, because he is the type of player who fills in gaps you do not even notice until he is gone. Yet Toronto has already shown this season that it can handle Milwaukee in this matchup context, taking most of the previous meetings and proving its style travels well into this building. Jakob Poeltl being available in the middle changes the geometry of the floor, and his presence, even if he is not at peak mobility, gives Toronto a reliable rim anchor and a smart hand in the short roll. You also have the younger big bodies and energetic forwards who crash, switch, and generally make life tougher on those pull-up happy Milwaukee guards. Milwaukee's recent stretch of good results has value, but when you peel it back, a fair chunk of that success has come against softer or banged-up opponents, and the way they are winning is heavily tied to hot perimeter shooting rather than clean, repeatable offense. Toronto, on the other hand, brings a steadier defensive base, a stronger overall season profile, and a track record of making this matchup look uncomfortable for Milwaukee even on their floor. As our first pick for this matchup, the Toronto Raptors to cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. The total for this game sits at a spot that feels high once you really picture how these 48 minutes are likely to look in real time. Toronto is in no rush to run up and down all night, and their preferred pace leans toward measured half-court possessions where they take their time to hunt a matchup or create a good driving angle. That naturally squeezes the number of trips each team gets, and when you combine that with a defense that has lived near the top of the league, the track meet script starts to feel a little forced. They are not a fireworks kind of offense. They grind, they probe, they get to their spots, and they are perfectly fine winning games that feel more like a long chess match than a three-point contest at the park. Milwaukee, even with some recent offensive explosions, has not suddenly turned into a juggernaut on that end over the full season. A lot of their best scoring nights lately have come from streaky shooting and guards burying contested jumpers, which looks great on highlights but is hard to trust as a constant source of points. Take Giannis out of the picture and you lose a big chunk of easy buckets, fast break dunks, and free throws that come just from him putting his head down and forcing rotations. What you are left with is more jump shots, more dribbles, and more possessions that can stall out if the first action does not hit. Both teams have leaned toward lower scoring outcomes across the schedule, with plenty of games sliding under expectations as their styles pull things down into the mud. Toronto's under-trend fits a team that leans on defense, limits possessions, and does not shoot lights out from deep most nights. Milwaukee's side of that story is a bit messier, with defensive issues and inconsistency, but their tendency to play in streaks and slumps has also produced plenty of games where the scoreboard never quite explodes the way people might expect from their reputation. Now throw in the fact that both primary offensive engines, Giannis for Milwaukee and Barnes for Toronto, are out, and you remove two of the more direct, downhill, and foul-drawing threats in the matchup. Afternoon timing, a building that both teams know well, and two coaching staffs who will not mind grinding through long half-court sets if the game is tight, all point toward a rhythm that is more methodical than wild. Sure, Milwaukee could catch another heater from 3 and push this higher, and that sliver of chaos is always there in a modern NBA game. But when you zoom out and look at season-long tendencies, the missing star power, and the slower preferred tempo of Toronto, the picture tilts toward a final score that lands on the cooler side of the scoring spectrum. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Denver Nuggets versus Golden State Warriors. The Denver Nuggets roll into Chase Center on Sunday night to face the Golden State Warriors, and the two teams are coming in with very different vibes. Denver just split a mini stretch against Western teams, losing to the Clippers, then bouncing back on the road against the Trail Blazers, with a date against the Celtics looming next. Even with some inconsistency, they have still taken 13 of their last 22 outings, which quietly reminds you that their baseline is pretty high. Golden State, on the other hand, is wobbling a bit. They dropped games to the Spurs and the Celtics, and the Pelicans are waiting for them next, so the schedule is not exactly giving them a breather. They have fallen in 6 of their last 9 games, and that pattern is starting to feel more like a trend than a blip. Injuries are tilting the floor before the ball even goes up. Denver is still without Aaron Gordon and Peyton Watson, and there is at least some concern around Jamal Murray and the role guys like Jalen Pickett, so the rotation is not completely clean. Even so, as long as Nikola Jokic is available, the Nuggets usually find a way to steady the ship because he solves a lot of problems with one-box score line. Golden State's report looks even rougher. Stephen Curry is out again, Seth Curry is ruled out, and Jimmy Butler III is also on the shelf, which strips a lot of creation and spacing from this group. Honestly, when you stack that against an opponent of Denver's caliber, it feels like trying to run a marathon in dress shoes. These teams last met back on November 7th, and Denver ran away with a 129-104 result. That was with the Warriors in a better spot personnel-wise, so with this current shorthanded group, it is tough to sketch out a scenario where Golden State consistently hangs around if Denver brings normal focus. The Warriors have also been burning money against strong opposition lately, failing to cover in 7 of their last 9 games, and that lines up with what you see on the floor. Without their main engine, their offense often stalls, the ball sticks, and they settle for a lot of contested threes. Denver's most recent performance, a 157-103 destruction of Portland, felt like a reminder of what this team looks like when the ball is popping and the defense is engaged. That was their 21st road win, which says plenty about how comfortable they are away from home. They have also had the upper hand in this matchup for a while, taking 10 of the last 12 meetings and 4 of the last 6 at Chase Center, which is not accidental. Golden State without Steph is basically a different franchise. They are just 6-11 straight up in the 17 games he has missed, and you can see why when their half-court possessions drift into late clock heaves. There is also the cloud around their newest addition, Kristaps Porzingis, who has struggled to stay on the floor consistently, which adds another layer of uncertainty. In their first game after the break, they were run out of their own building by Boston and trailed by as many as 34, which is not exactly the response you want after extra rest. Denver, by contrast, looks like a side that might finally be shaking off some rust. They have not been at their sharpest for stretches, especially through February. But that sort of 50-plus point statement win can reset a locker room and sharpen attention. Against a Warriors group missing so many of its key pieces, this shapes up as a spot where the Nuggets can lean on their size, playmaking, and continuity and turn that into a comfortable margin if they stay locked in for 4 quarters. I would need a lot more help on the number to justify trusting Golden State with this kind of injury sheet, so the pressure is really on Denver to simply handle business as the more stable side here. As our first pick for this matchup, the Denver Nuggets to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Denver is putting up 120.4 points per game on a clean 49.5% from the field, while giving up 116.4 points on 46.8% shooting. From deep, they are humming at 39.5%, and they are solid at the stripe at 81%. They allow 35.2% from 3 and pull down 42.7 rebounds per night, which keeps them involved on the glass on both ends. Golden State is not far behind in the scoring column. They average 115.5 points on 46.1% shooting and concede 113.7 points on 47.2%. From beyond the arc, they knock down 36.2%, and they are nearly identical at the line at 80.9%. Defensively from 3, they also sit at 35.2% allowed, and they grab 42.5 boards per game, which means both teams usually generate enough possessions for scoring swings. Here is the thing, even with the Warriors missing major pieces, their style tends to invite points. They shoot plenty of threes, they play at a decent pace, and their defense has stretches where it leaks, especially against a team that can punish mismatches inside and out like Denver. On the other side, the Nuggets' offense is efficient enough to lift a total almost by itself when the ball is moving and Jokic is orchestrating. Their shooting splits and free throw reliability give them a high-scoring floor, and the Warriors still have enough remaining firepower to chip in, even if their efficiency wobbles without their main star. The numbers on both sides suggest a game where the offenses find rhythm more often than the defenses clamp down. Rebounding is fairly even, three-point percentages are strong, and both teams have shown they can push games into higher scoring territory when the shots start falling early. With that profile, and with Denver in good form after that outburst against Portland, the stage looks set for another matchup where points keep coming throughout the night rather than drying up. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Brooklyn Nets versus Atlanta Hawks. The Brooklyn Nets head into State Farm Arena on Sunday night to face the Atlanta Hawks in a matchup of two teams that feel stuck in a slump. Brooklyn is coming off losses to the Thunder and the Cavs, and they get the Mavericks after this, so the schedule is not exactly easing them in. They have dropped 18 of their last 22 games, which is the kind of stretch that eats away at confidence, even if the effort is still there. Atlanta is not exactly cruising either. The Hawks just lost to the Heat, did manage a win against the 76ers, and then see the Wizards next. They have fallen in 6 of their last 9, and that kind of up-and-down form makes them a little frustrating to back, even at home. Injuries are part of the story, but not the whole thing. The Nets remain a bit thin with Zaire Williams still out, so their margin for error on the wings is smaller than you would like. The Hawks have ruled out Jonathan Kuminga again, which hurts their versatility and energy, especially on defense and in transition. So you are looking at two flawed groups, both missing pieces, both trying to find a version of themselves that looks remotely stable. The last time these teams met, back on October 29th, the Hawks grabbed a 117-112 win. That one stayed fairly tight, but the current form hints at something less balanced this time. Brooklyn's offense has looked pretty toothless lately, and it often feels like they are laboring just to reach respectable numbers on the scoreboard. Over this extended skid, their rhythm has gone missing, and there is not a reliable go-to spark when things bog down. Atlanta, for all of its issues, still has more natural scoring punch and is starting to feel the pressure of needing wins to steady the season. A desperate home team with more firepower, even if flawed, against a road team that has dropped 18 of 22, is usually the side you lean toward against the spread. You do not exactly feel thrilled laying points with either club, but Brooklyn's current offensive state makes it very hard to see them keeping pace for a full 4 quarters if Atlanta finds even an average shooting night. The Nets' recent form against the number does not help either, with a run that reflects how often they fall behind and stay there. The Hawks have also struggled against the spread, but their ceiling is still higher, and this is the sort of spot where their talent and urgency should carry more weight than Brooklyn's grind-heavy outlook. As our first pick for this matchup, the Atlanta Hawks to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Brooklyn has lurched out of the All-Star break with 2 ugly offensive showings, losing 112-84 in Cleveland on Thursday and then 105-86 at Oklahoma City on Friday despite catching 17 points. Across the past 3 games, they are 0-3 against the spread and just 2-6 against the spread in the last 8 overall, which pairs with a level of offensive production that feels stuck in mud. Defensively, though, the Nets have actually held up reasonably well, allowing 115 points or fewer in each of the past 5 games. The problem is that since the break they have managed only 85 points per game in those 2 outings, which drags totals downward almost by itself. On the surface, that makes the under look very appealing, and honestly it is hard to ignore numbers like that. There is a small twist though. Not that long ago, from February 3rd to February 11th, the over hit in 5 straight Brooklyn games, a reminder that their profile can swing when shots fall and pace picks up. So you have this odd contrast, a recent surge of overs followed by a hard swing toward low-scoring results driven mostly by offensive futility. Atlanta's recent pattern lines up more cleanly with lower totals. The Hawks were blown out 128-97 by the Heat at home, and they are just 1-4 straight up in the last 5. Against the number, they are 1-5 against the spread in the past 6 and 2-7 against the spread across the past 9, which mirrors inconsistent play on both ends. For totals, the under has cashed in 3 straight for Atlanta. They have given up 110 points or fewer in 2 of the last 3 and have scored 119 points or fewer in 5 games in a row. When you put those trends together, the picture that forms is of a game where neither side is reliably lighting it up for a full 48 minutes. Brooklyn's recent scoring drought, combined with a defense that has kept opponents in a reasonable range, naturally drags expectations for total points down. Atlanta's own slide into more modest offensive outputs, plus their recent stretch of unders, supports the idea that this could turn into another game where possessions stall, shots come in bunches but not waves, and the final tally stays under what you would normally expect from these brands. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed, subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.